So, right, well, I think I've finally killed the BMS. I tried what some of the viewers suggested. I did have a wire with a 100k resistor on the end of it, and I tried going between the thing and the reset button. Right, this is not currently attached to anything. So this is the BMS control thing off the board. I've chopped the batteries off it. So I decided I'd had enough, and what had worked previously was going between the negative side and the reset button with the multimeter in continuity, which, as somebody pointed out, that gives out a slight voltage on the probes and it would reset, but that no longer works. I then tried using the universal power supply that set at 5 volts, and I gave 5 volts to the ground and the 5 volt line, and that made it flash and light up briefly. Again, I worked for a little while, came back to it, and it had stopped, and then it wouldn't do it anymore after that. So now I have soldered the two connections together. So the two far away ones were the output from the BMS, and the two ones further back were the actual cell voltage. I've joined them together, so now everything is connected together, and I have the universal power supply set to 30 something volts. I'll check it in a moment. Right, let me put that there and turn on the power supply. Power supply is on. So it's currently set at 27 volts. And over here, well, this contraption here, that's a macro infrared camera that its sole purpose is to look at circuit boards and see what component's getting hot. I've got my big tablet being the screen. I'm going to press record and allow it to use a microphone and record. Is it recording? Is it recording? Now it's recording. Okay, so that's now recording what the thing sees. So I will move. Oh, so universal power supply up here. Let me zoom in. At 27 volts. The board is currently consuming 0.6 of a watt. You can see it. See that flickering? I can hear the chip on the board ticking at that speed. The chip on our side. We'll get round to that. Let's just do a quick sweep over the board on the thermal imaging here. Let me see if I can adjust the focus to be a bit sharper. I might even move it down a little bit so we can get the whole thing in shot, and then try and adjust the focus again. Right, that's relatively... You have to watch out though, because sometimes it's my reflection we're seeing on the shiny metal bit, so I'll stand back. So there's definitely a hot spot under there, but it doesn't appear to be any of these top components. Right, move down the bed a bit so I can slide it. Right, so there doesn't appear to be anything hot on the top here, apart from that, and I'm pretty sure that's the underneath that's making that heat. It might not be. Let's zoom down a little bit further using, well, manual zoom. Let's do that. And then we'll focus again on the individual components. Right, that should be focused on the components. So it's none of them. It's none of them are individually hot, so it must be the other side. So raise that back up so everyone's in shot. Focus again. Get the chips. And we'll slide down a bit again. That's the big hole. There's nothing heating up here on any of these bits. Again, I'll show you my reflection on the bits. There's my hand passing over the nice shiny metal bits, but there's nothing blazingly obvious in there. I'll have to move everybody down a bit now. And no, none of them are hot. Right, I just mind zoom out a bit. I'll get the whole board in. Although, have I now gone too big? Have I gone too big? Right. Nothing there, nothing there. I can see a hot spot coming up here. There's a hot bit there. I'm presuming that's hot on the other side. Down there. We'll zoom in down there, see if that's hot. That doesn't appear to be hot on this side. Not the wrong way. Every time. No, because there's my reflection. Nope, right, okay. So nothing on that side. So, nope, right. And then there's that. I don't know if that's a shunt for, current reading, or if it's just a fuse. Right, let us flip over and go the other way. Well, there's definitely a hot spot. whatever that is. Let's zoom down on that. Let's get in that and get our focus the other way. Whatever that, I might have gone too far down. That's definitely hot. Whichever one of those that is, that's hot. I'm slightly annoyed I can't get the focus to be chip level. Come on. Oh, that's worse. It's very diffused, that's odd. Right. Maybe I should just get something in focus. Right, that's the reflection of me. How focused is that? I mean, that's pretty sharp. Right, they're not hot. None of them. Nothing here. There's a big hole. And oh, there's a very hot chip over here. But none of them. Just this big chip right here, as we can see. Currently sitting at 43 degrees. And as I say, if I listen carefully next to it, I can hear the inside going tick, 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 which corresponds to the power supply voltage going tick, 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 tick. So that chip is hot, as we can see there. Right, so that's getting hot. Right, okay, that's enough thermal imaging. We know that chips. There's a chip, hot chip there, and whatever that is there. Do you know what would have been a good addition to this camera? Like a laser, a 3-point laser that would focus in the middle of where the dot is, so you could line it up on screen and then have the lasers pointing at exactly the component when you can't get just the right level of focus for the component that you're trying to zoom in. Because I can't feel it hot because it's only 26 degrees, but it's definitely one of them. The only other thing I was going to look at, did I stop that video? No, stop the video. Stop that video. Was to plug in the port plug thing back into the bit on the board and see if there is any voltage on any of the outputs while it's attached to the power supply. Right, bring that in and that, and volts, and let me see what we had before. So on pin 1, which I think that's pin 1, if that's got like 5.5 volts, that'd be nice. It's not, it's dead as a doornail. Another one was pin 8. Pin 8, which is that, and again that's what it was doing before. That's the dead version because I haven't given it full cell voltage, which was like 40 volts. We're at 27 now, so 22 would be your kind of dead battery. So not really surprising there. I will go through them all just to make sure they're all equally dead. Right, there's pin 1 to ground. Yeah, there's the 2 volts, which is similar to what I had before when it was dead. Right, let's go through them all. Pin 2, nothing. 3, negative 2 volts. That's great. Can't get in the hole. Pin 4, a weirdly rising voltage. I think it's dead. It's definitely dead. 1.3 volts. I mean, apart from getting the oscilloscope out and connecting on, and then that's got 1.3. See, that's not entirely different to that's pin 5 and 6. That's what. Granted, it's at a lower voltage, but it's also because we've got a lower voltage coming out of the power supply. I might turn it up, and I didn't want to turn it up in case I melted that chip on the other side, but I mean, it's dead, it's dead, it won't make much difference. 0.8 volts, where we had 5 on that rail before, and then the bottom one, which we had 4.3 and 4.3, we've now got, will you go in the hole? What is going on here? Thank you. And 28 volts. I did insulate the probe tips like was suggested to stop me causing weird interference signals. And again, if I go between ground and the 5 volt rail, which is supposed to be 5 volts over there, it's 1.6 volts. Ground is also 1.2 volts, which is not, everything's 1.2 volts. I think it's dead. I think it's very, very dead. Yeah. Right, so I happened something so. I found a replacement battery on a German eBay site, but the German eBay site wouldn't ship to UK, so I've had to ship from the German seller to a friend in Europe, and the friend in Europe is then going to send me the battery for the bike, and then once I've got the battery, I'm going to put it in the bike and then sell it, because this Shimano, when they first brought out my bike, they had a lot of problems with the motors already, so they would get a torque sensor error which was irreparable, so you had to do, so you basically had no option but to buy a new motor. Thankfully, fingers crossed, touch wood, that hasn't happened to any of my bikes, but instead I've got the dead at birth battery, which now I've been looking on the forums, seems to have happened quite a lot as well. You would get your new bike, new battery, you would get a couple 100 miles out it, and then it would die. And then they would just, well, you know, the bike shop, Shimano, would replace the battery, and then you would never hear about it ever again. So that appears to be what has happened, because this battery bike combination has only done 300 miles, whereas my own bike battery has done 3,000 miles, and it's still going fine. But yeah, so I'll be getting rid of that, I'll be getting rid of my bike, and we'll be going away from the Shimano ecosystem. But as folk have commented in the comments, everybody's doing it. If it's Shimano, Bosch, Bros, whoever, they've all got their own little ecosystem, and none of the bits are not irreplaceable, are replaceable. Like, you can't go out and buy a third-party battery and put it in and get it to work. They all have their own little encrypted CAN buses, so you can't use cheap bits, which is the only advantage of the cheap Chinese e-bike system, whereas batteries are just batteries. You just plug in whatever battery you want, what size, shape, no matter, as long as the right voltage, it'll work. Your controller goes bad, you just take the controller out, throw away, and put a new controller in. Yeah, a lot more repairability in the cheap Chinese side. But hey, here we are. The only other thing I've seen online with, say, like the Bosch stuff is Bosch have actually got spares. Like, if your Bosch motory bits inside the motor dies, they've actually got repair facilities for replacing and repairing them. Shimano, put it in the bin and put a new motor in. So here we are, slight rant over. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the e-bike battery saga. It is dead, D-E-E-D, dead. Although, if anyone wants this, I will quite happily post you this, and you can mess about with it and see if you can get any readings, anything off it, clone it, copy it, decrypt the data. I don't know if it even works to that ability, but if anyone wants it, just let me know and I'll quite happily post it out to you. But apart from that, any comments, questions, anything like that, leave them down below. I will try my very best to answer them, as always. Thanks for watching.